This is Progress Culture. Progress Culture is a weekly happening where master drummer Paul F. Murphy and I share live improvised music and impromptu conversations with people from various fields and expertises about community, value, art, science, freedom, and progress for all. We are excited to share it all with you, so have a listen and see what's going on this week on Progress Culture. Now, let's get into the show. But first, let's hear some music. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Progress Culture. I am Dominic Fragman here with Paul Murphy from the Spirit of Innovation and Freedom, as always, the master, the mentor, the smartest guy in the room. Except for, God, these intros are so hard.
No, it's probably right in this case.
Hello.
You always give accolades to somebody. Somebody's got to be better than the next. So, also we have a show favorite, Mr. Brian Jordan. How's it going, man?
Good morning. Good to be here.
And also, I'm excited to have here today a good friend of mine. She is a plant healer and a medicine worker, all kinds of different things that I get excited about when we get to hang out and drink some nice cacao and stuff. My good friend Narda, how's it going?
Hello.
Good to see you.
You too. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. I was telling Narda before we started the show that it's not something that we really do to focus on what one individual necessarily does, but what they do informs what they're bringing to the table. But I feel like it's I don't want to just jump off into something without giving a chance for you to say, you and Brian were talking about some interesting stuff before the show with sort of going down the path of using unconventional methods for medicine and that sort of thing. So,
you almost have to talk about that.
It's
so different to have someone like her here.
Right.
And for me personally, it's very personal. Like I told her before, I grew up in the woods, and the older people in my generation, they told us what we could eat, what we couldn't eat, what was good for this and good for that. So I'm just excited to even talk to her, just to have someone like that here.
Cool, man. I keep learning more and more about you that blows my mind. So.
It's nothing much.
Grew up in the woods and everything. That's cool. We just spent some time in the woods this past weekend. Narda was part of there's a farm up in the foothills of the Frederick Mountains, and they're doing a whole bunch of permaculture stuff. And it's all these people that are trying to basically see if they can do anything to diminish the need for factory farming and that sort of thing. So they just try to develop the land as the land would develop with its own natural abundance.
Right.
So a lot of these things, part of the reason why I want to have you here is because that's what we like to talk about is unconventional methods and the mindset that it requires to sort of walk that path in the face of probably pretty much tremendous opposition. Not to say that anybody's throwing negative shade on you, but the ways of doing aren't conducive to the ways of doing that you're choosing to do. And we find that in music, and you found that through the research and the products that you've developed, and you're doing that with plants and medicine and farming. And how does that? What's that like? When you wake up every day and you're like, I'm going to do this stuff that most people don't even understand, and is it difficult? Is it a joy? Does it require some sort of process of orientation or meditation that you engage in?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, I am all about, like we were talking, natural things that could bring like a light, like an extra light to your life, like motivation for other people to look into their lives and see what is it that I'm missing in my life, everyday life, that, it doesn't bring me joy. So I try to also express that to my friends too, like try to do something that will bring you to your center, back to you, because a lot of the times we get so overwhelmed with what's happening around us. We get stressed out, we have the commute, going to work, and then we just get to the fast food place and just grab whatever, just to fill up our stomach. But what it is, if you look deeper into that, so what is actually that you're putting in your stomach? Is it making you feel even tired? Or does it bring you joy? Does it make you happy? Does it give you energy? So I think that's how I started when I moved here to the States from Ecuador, South America. I was eating certain things, right? And even my family. But the things that we were eating weren't actually like the healthiest thing either. So I started looking into that. I grew up also maybe like a little overweight, I will call, because in my class we were like 5 of us were overweight, and our gym teacher will be like always bullying us and, oh, you're fat, you need to run more. So I was like, okay. I can't really run, and then, that made me kind of look back at like, oh wait, like why am I overweight in a way, not in a bad way, or it didn't make me like sad in a way, but I was just like, well, what is she saying to me? So I started, looking into food. What can I eat that it's gonna make me lose a little weight? I'm gonna start feeling better about myself. And then I started changing my diet at my own house.
Yeah.
Whole. And then they were like, "Why are you eating?" So I started like steaming my chicken when they will eat it fried. I love eating potatoes and rice. So I told my mom and my grandma, do not give me those things, because I really like them and I will ask for double portions. So so they stopped doing that to me. So I just eat my steamed chicken and I started like losing weight, and I will start exercising too. And I started like feeling better. So then I realized, well, maybe this is a good thing to do, So then I started doing that. When I moved to the States, I didn't know what to eat because we have different diets. So I started looking up what are the things that Americans eat here. So, and then I tried some things, but also going to the restaurants, the portions were like huge.
Right.
So I was like, oh, this is so much food. I have like leftovers for 3 days. So
I used to enjoy that. Like, I'm gonna take this, I'll get this.
Yeah.
Well, what's funny? It's it's not rocket science. It's not like this. It's like this. Like you have an epiphany that you're like, duh. Like I should have thought of that a long time ago. And that was somebody brought to my attention in the more recent years that food is medicine, and you should treat your food that way and eat your food that way. And when you start thinking about that, and you think about, this is part of the thing, like what we were talking about, where you go down a path that all these other things, it's so much more conducive. It's so much easier to go down this other way of not living that way. And
right.
So it's harder to, not to say that I've made the change or anything, but I've become much more conscious about this idea that the food is nourishment. So if you're just putting in preservative, packaged, all this stuff, your body's going to react to that. And to make that change and go that route, I mean, it makes a big difference.
It's significant. Yeah. And one of the things you have to consider, too, the food in the U.S. is much different than food around the world, as you probably know. We were in Mexico last year, and it was a big difference between the food there and here, being even on the same continent. A lot of the foods that they have there don't have a lot of the preservatives, and same thing in Europe. My brother lived in Germany, and he used to beg me to send him Pop-Tarts, because Pop-Tarts are available here but not there, because they're outlawed over there because of all the preservatives they have in them.
They're outlawed?
You notice a huge difference. So when I was there, I felt the difference. And me, I love to eat. And like you said, we have to be mindful of the food we put in our bodies.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting point to that. There was a medical article written in, I think it was like 1901, 1902, that stated there's no correlation between illness and food you put in your body. Of course, we know now that's different. But they actually believe it.
Where did that article come from?
It was a journal written in the early 1900s.
Okay.
Because they said there was no correlation between food and your health. But of course, now we know different, and you have to be mindful of the foods. So,
and what's funny is that you say that a lot of people would say that. Of course, now we know different.
Sure.
But this is something that we've known for a long time, I think, as a human race or species or whatever. I mean, they were living that way. I mean, a lot of this information you say comes from oral traditions. You were saying that earlier, right? Where these are things, it's information that's been passed down through older cultures and older folks or whatever, where it's only, you know what? At the permaculture thing this past weekend, there was a guy there, and this is much older than, but he was saying, he was an anthropologist, and he was saying that agriculture is not something that started in whether or not it was monoculture or whatever, where we were actively cultivating like certain kinds of plants to use to feed the masses,
right.
was not something that started until we had irrigation abilities.
Right.
And before that, it was called it was just horticulture, and that happened about 12,000 years ago, where people stopped necessarily living off the abundance of the land and started trying to had to control more of what they were producing.
What grows the best here, and let's grow this because we know what grows here.
Right.
You know, and one of the things you have to consider too with the U.S., you know, not to get political, but is why we eat the foods we eat is because of money. You know, sugar is addictive. You know, in the 1960s, they realized fat was bad. Heart attacks were on their way up. So in the 70s and 80s, they went with no fat. Then they got rid of the fat, started adding sugar. So now everything has tons of sugar in it. And sugar has the same effect in endorphins as cocaine. So when you eat it, you want more.
Yeah.
You know, trust me, I know. I can't help it. But, you know, and that's one of the things, the problem we have in the U.S. because it's money. Then you look at the healthcare system. The healthcare system is designed to keep you, I hate to say it like this, but it's designed to keep you sick, to keep feeding the machine. Whereas you look at Europe, Mexico, South America that have social medicine, it doesn't behoove them to have sick people, so they want you healthy. Hence the healthier food.
Right. And also to go into that, I think it's the medical practices or whatever. We're not very preventative.
Yes.
We're more reactive. So, and I think that without necessarily making the whole show about food, which I guess it could be, but you know, I want to try to touch on the path that you're on too, as well, and how that correlates to you know, across a lot of different ways that have to engage that way. But I guess what I was saying is this: we're not involved in this preventative thing so much as we are reactive. So.
Now, is that something NARDA does? Is preventative? You help people choose better paths for food?
That's part of what I do. Going to your point too with the preventative, you know, I remember, and this is why I guess my passion for plants come in, the things that I put in my body. My grandma and my mom, every time we have like a tummy ache or like a flu symptom, they will be in the kitchen with herbs, you know, like, let me mix this and this, or they will make this green juice, you know, different than the juices that you will find here, but they will put, say, like aloe and like parsley and lemon juice, and they will make a smoothie, and they'll be like,
delicious.
drink this, right? And I'll be like, oh, what is that? But then once I drank it, it was like good, and that was like my everyday thing, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, they're taking care
So
of me.
some of what you learned from your family.
Definitely, yeah. And then I
Yeah.
will see my mom and my grandma making teas, like herbal teas at nighttime or in the morning. And then we'll go to the market too, and then all the ladies will be there selling all these herbs, you know. And my mom will know. She will say, "Give me this, give me that," and then I'll be like, "Oh, that's so cool." And then when I move here too, I miss that, you know, like where is my market, which is here, like the farmers market, but different. You know, you don't have them every day. We'll have them every day. There's this big place where you could just go there and pick everything that comes every day. And then when I came here, I was like, where are my herbs? You know, like, where am I going to consume? And then eventually, like, trying to network and see where can I find these things, I ran into, like, Herbalist and the Chesapeake Herb Gathering. And then I started meeting more like-minded folks that will be into the herbal medicine and things. And I was so excited to find that there are actually people called herbalists here. So I was like, oh, this is like... you know, like a part of me now in the States. Like I found my people. And through that, I started, you know, like, exchanging information, and this is what I use, this is what you use. And then share that with other people too. You know, like, oh, do you have a tummy ache? Do you want to kind of lose weight? Do you want to have more energy? So this is what you should kind of like consume. And get rid of toxins too, because, you know, we're full of toxins, not only for the things that we eat, but from the environment, the water, the stress again that we put into our body by commuting or relationship, jobs. You know, we get stressed out, so all these things build up in your body that the body doesn't know what to do with, and you have to find a way to expel them. And this is what I like to eat, how I eat, and consume the herbs as well. That is going to help me, you know, healthier, because I do want to live a longer life by consuming these things, so I can help more people. And you know,
I know that's a big part of it for you, and several other individuals I know that are doing something in this realm, is to help people and to have a positive impact. And I think that's a big part of what everybody does here as well too, whether or not it's with drones or it's with med tech or the the music that we're playing is, we always say, is
music is medicine too.
Yeah,
indeed it is.
Absolutely.
And when it's coming from nothing but a positive place, it's really interesting to hear the feedback from people too in that regard. I'm sure it makes you, when you get it, it's like, it's not even, sometimes I don't know if it's something as much as like that you need, like what it does for you and whether or not it makes you happy or any of that, but man, it's so nice to receive confirmation that what you're doing is it working and having a positive impact. So
yeah, it's a nourishment. When I get the feedback too, I just cry of like joy and emotion.
Wow.
Like, thank you plant medicine, thank you earth, because food is medicine, like you said. It all comes from the land already. We just have to remember to go back at it and pay respect to it, and just listen to nature. Everything, all the medicines are already coming from Mother Earth, so we just have to get back to the roots.
I know you spoke about finding your people, and sometimes it gets difficult for me anyway to tell, because you end up surrounding yourself with so many people that you're gravitating towards each other because you have common interests or common mindsets. And I guess I'm wondering is with that community of people that you're surrounding you by, do you have some sort of gauge or barometer where you can tell, like, where are people on this in the world of things that you're dealing with? Do you still see a lot of opposition? I feel like a lot of people are coming more and more to these ideas, but I also am not doing them every day. Do you find, I don't know if opposition is the right word, but you know what I mean? Is there pushback on any of this type of stuff, or people that just don't understand it? Do they have their minds blown, or do they feel like, this ain't true?
Yeah, that's a great question. Sometimes I feel like before, I will say probably 3 years ago, I will offer some type of advice to someone that will come to me for advice, or just like we'll have a conversation and I will talk about what I do, and they'll be like, well, I don't know, let me talk to my doctor, like I'm taking this medication, like I don't want it to like be a contraindication type of thing. But I was just thinking, well, if it's natural, I don't see how that could affect you. If anything, it will really like help out or contribute to your healing, kind of thing. Yeah. But so I will have people like wary of, trying new things, But now more and more people are actually open to it. Yeah. And they say, I just want to get rid of my prescription medication drugs, and I just want to try something natural. Yeah. So I'm like, yes. So more and more people now are just so open to receive.
I gotta ask you this: when you tell people about the stuff that you do with frogs?
With what? Frogs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to hear that.
I do thing with frogs. Yes. So I'm the frog lady.
Wow.
So yeah, this is also, like plant medicine. We also have animal medicine, everything that comes from the Amazon. And there is this part in Brazil that there's specific kind of frog. It's called the monkey frog, monkey tree frog. It's cute little frog. She's so green with black eyes, very powerful. So it's the only amphibian yes, that all the other animals around are fearful of.
Wow.
So because if some of them, and this happened because they already knew back in the day, like one of the animals ate the frog, and then that animal died, like he choked to death, and then the frog came back out.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And they're like, okay, I'm not eating that.
Right.
So she's so powerful and so magical and beautiful. So what it does, so she has peptides in her body and all these proteins that simulate a lot to what we humans have. So we're pretty similar to this amphibian. And so what you do, you collect the secretion from the back of the frog. You don't have to harm this animal at all. So she willingly gives it to the shaman that goes in a boat and goes trying to find her at nighttime. And he sings specific songs, and then the frog comes to the shaman.
Wow.
So he collects the secretion from the back very peacefully. You know, he's like serenading her, and she knows what she's doing too.
Amazing.
So yeah, that exchange, right, of energy is so beautiful. So then the secretion gets put in this stick, and then what happens after that? The person, the practitioner, in this case me. So the name of this medicine is called Campbell, Kambo. Yes. So what you do, you have to like burn a little bit of the skin, layers of the skin, with a little branch.
Okay.
So you don't like burn. You just like take off a little bit of the skin, very gently, and then you apply the secretion on the skin. So the way that it gets into your skin is through your lymphatic system. So it gets into you really fast, and then you start feeling all these sensations of heat in your face, in your head, and your heart starts beating pretty fast. So what it is, the magic of this medicine is that it creates, it's a detoxifier. So, and it goes straight to the liver, the kidney, the gallbladder, you know, where emotions get trapped in there, the toxins from the food, the air, the water, everything is trapped in our lymphatic system, in those organs.
Right.
So this medicine is so smart, it knows where to go and expel things out of you.
Wow.
So yeah, it gets rid of not only like toxins like that, but also they say Panema, which is like bad spirits, bad energy that we get trapped in our lives. So, and the way that you expel these emotions and things are through purging, like throw up, or sometimes purging, you have to go to the bathroom. Sometimes another way to purge is through tears or sweat.
Yes.
When you tell people about this,
Yeah.
like in a regular day,
Yeah.
how do they respond to that?
They're like, oh, that sounds intense, or like, oh, that sounds cool, or like, yeah, like I didn't know this could happen, you know. And so, and you also like the purge. It's not like when you purge, like say when you are hangover or you have like you ate something bad, the purge, you just see food coming out. It's mainly like liquid, and this liquid has different colors. So the colors will also tell you, like, this is what's going on. This is what's coming out of you. Like the toxicity from liver, kidney, gallbladder.
Interesting. Somebody was
Yeah.
telling me recently of something in a similar vein that was Chinese medicine that is all based off of your iris.
Yeah.
Was that you that was telling me
I
that?
don't know if it was me, but I know you talk iridology. Yeah.
What's it called?
Iridology.
Iridology.
Yeah, where they can just like look at your iris and tell by what
Yeah.
the patterns, the shapes, the colors, what your ailments might be.
Well, that's I was going to tell you. Like, we had a friend of ours who lived in Calvert, Angela Callender, and I'll say her name. She's a wonderful lady. Reminds me of you.
Oh.
You know, she's from Guyana originally, and she practices iridology. And it's just like what you said. I mean, what she said is 100% true. I mean, that's
Yeah, right.
that's all that's 100% true. But, you know, she look at your eye and say, oh, you have such and such. You know, she's like, oh, this person has a problem with kidneys by looking at the eye.
Right.
And it's just fascinating to me,
Yeah.
you know. And what you were saying, You know, like I remember as a kid, we used to not play with, but we used to use gasoline and, you know, for the lawnmower or whatever. We were careful not to get it on your skin. Why? Because it absorbs through your skin and affects your liver. And they found that mechanics, you know, in the 50s, way back, they would have liver problems because they were absorbing that stuff through their skin. So your skin does absorb those impurities and things. And like she said, that the medicine from the frog goes in and knows how to purify it. My wife is, I got to get your card. we got to talk to you. But yeah, it's just, to me, it's fascinating. I totally believe all of that.
That's cool, man. So what, just to kind of, like I said, to throw it into the, you know, like a more an encompassing realm, when you embark into a pathway like this, it's got to be, I mean, like I know for us, going down a pathway that is irregular or however you want to describe it, there's, you know, like there's certain ways that you have to orient your mind into going into that, to be prepared to devote yourself to something that way. And even whether whether you have the support of people or you don't have the support, have you found that you've always had support? Has it always been sort of a positive trajectory for you in that regard, or was there ever a time where it was like you had to push through and know that this is what I believe in and this is what I'm going to do regardless of whatever, people not agreeing or not being able to make any money with it or anything like that? Does that happen?
Yeah, exactly where I was gonna go when you said the money thing, you know. So yeah, you know, like everyone, you know, like 9 to 5, you know, job. I gotta do something, you know. I gotta bring home the bacon. So yeah, I was in that situation too, but I wasn't happy.
Yeah.
So whatever things that I was doing, I just didn't find my joy and happiness, and I did not like the commute and just being unhappy with myself, and then go back home, you know, barely eat and then go to bed and then do it all again the same day, everything all over again. I was just like, there's gotta be something else, you know. There's gotta be something. So I kept just meditating and just going inwards and just asking for guidance, like, what should I do? Like, I know, you know, me being from Ecuador, you know, I know there are traditions and things that I could do and offer to other people, not only like just do whatever job, you know. I have to be happy doing what I'm doing, and I would love to offer it and share it with the world, you know.
I'm kind of curious, you know, you come from Ecuador, and what were you doing prior to this? What line of work were you doing?
I had my degree on hospitality and tourism.
Okay.
So I was like a tour guide there, and, you know, hotels, you know, all the people from the States here, they will come visit, and I will show them places, you know, I'll take them. I like doing that, you know, but once I moved here, I was like, okay, what do I do? Because, you know, your credits don't transfer and things. So,
right. And
I was just thinking, you know, we don't have like the beach like we have there and the Galapagos Islands. So what can I show to people here?
Right.
So I felt like, what do I do, you know?
It's kind of interesting because, you know, like Dominic, Paul, and yourself, you and me to an extent, we're all types of people who tend to follow our passions. You know, we've all done things that, you know, we talked yesterday about something about, you know, you're the type of guy, someone said you could work at Home Depot and you hang yourself with your apron because you're so miserable doing something that you don't want to do.
I was
like,
in a meeting.
You have to bring home the bacon, but how do you do it? You know, for years I was in a job doing things that I liked, kind of like you with hospitality. I liked doing what I was doing, but I didn't love it. It wasn't my passion. So I think coming here, you found your passion. You love this and maybe even have a talent for it, it seems like. Is that accurate?
Yes. So, and then I receive guidance, you know, through like the work that I do, and then connecting with the plants and my own spirit and source, and asking help to my ancestors too, knowing that I have that in me, you know. And then I had, you know, I ran into podcasts and I started listening to people doing things, and what do people in my land do? Like, what is it out there, you know, that I can offer? So, and then the frog came to me, just like the spirit of the frog, like, yeah, you know, you should look into it. And then I experienced it for myself, you know. Someone gave me the medicine and I experienced it. So I felt it like, yes, this is what I need to share with the world. Like, how could I share this to everyone? because it brings me so much joy.
Do you find it difficult to actually get some or a lot of the product that you could get when you were not in America? Like being here in the United States, is it difficult for you to get exactly the medicine that you would like to put forward?
Yeah, thank you for that.
Because I know that the farms, they're not growing like the Amazon with fertilizers and everything else
Right.
you've got.
Yeah.
So is that a challenge?
Yeah, so actually, thank you for that. When I grew up in Ecuador, so I didn't know anything about plant medicine or anything that I know right now. And I lived in the city, so the pollution and everything,
Okay.
So I think it was a gift for me to come to the States. So here I got to learn about all these things and refer back to where I'm from, because, everything pretty much is down there.
Right.
So yeah, and then I discovered them here. So I had to go back there and just go back to my roots, sit with the medicine and learn all these things and just acknowledge that everything comes from there. And yeah, we are in a different environment, but I feel like me being here, I do have more opportunities for networking and know about permaculture and other medicines and things that I didn't know. Cacao, that's also another of my medicines too. I wouldn't have known any of that if I was still back at home in Ecuador. But
Why is that?
I just wasn't in the path, I don't think. And I just discovered all the things
there wasn't
here.
access to the information. It just wasn't where you were at.
Yeah, so much more, because some of these things are also still a taboo there.
Right.
So and I was pretty much in a very conservative home with a single mom. She wouldn't let me go out or date or anything. So I felt like my mind and my consciousness, everything expanded once I moved here. But eventually I would like to go back there and retire there. Yeah. But,
How long have you been here?
14 years.
Oh,
now.
wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So what was the thing that you were asking about the medicine too? I forgot. Anyway.
I don't know, but I think that as we start to wind down, I think one thing that I'm hearing you say that I know that I can relate to, and I know because I know you well enough to know that you relate to it as well. And Brian, I don't know it about you, but I think from the conversations that we've had and the time we've known each other that you might have something similar, but might use a different word for it, but I doubt it. But what you're talking about with the kind of devotion and trust that you gave to yourself to pursue that which was sort of off of the beaten path. I think that's really necessary. I think in whatever creative endeavor you're going to be involved in, or maybe even creative isn't the word that's necessary right here. It's a different path. And when you embark on that different path, you really do have to go inside of yourself and connect with something, whatever it is, whether or not you can explain it to somebody else. There was a time where I was very involved in meditation, and I started to have very intense visions, and I wouldn't talk to anybody about them because they would plant the seed of that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. And I remember one day I asked you. I told you about a vision that I told Paul about a vision that I had, and he was just listening. And I said, "Man, well, can I tell people about this?" And he said, "Yeah, you can tell whoever you want, as long as you don't tell people that are going to make you think that it's BS."
Right. Absolutely.
And whatever that was, whether it was happening in my mind's eye or in what everybody else would call reality, it was real for me, and I believed in it, and I put faith in it, and I took lots of positive energy from it and had a lot of gratitude for it. And with that, it fueled me to be able to believe that it was worth it to continue towards what I was trying to get to, whatever that is, whether or not it's dealing with what you deal with in regard to plants and animals and medicine. And like I said, the same thing with you. And I mean, you're sitting around thinking about, I mean, I always go back to the boat case because I think it's rad, but I know you've got a pile of stuff that, yeah, you have to have that. And I think that sometimes when we get involved in, we're going to be creative, or we want to do innovation, or we want to talk about these things, we just think of it to come up with some idea that functions properly and will do the thing. But it requires, I think, so much more than that.
It does.
Into your, whether you want to call it spiritual or that connection that you have.
I think we've talked about that before in the
Yeah.
other shows. We talked about that higher consciousness, and you even mentioned it yourself, that, you had to look from within to find that guidance.
Right.
And when you cleanse yourself, because we got so many distractions that you just talked about, we got distractions from work, from other people, from radio, from TV, cell phones, the food you eat. But once you cleanse yourself of that, you purge yourself, like you said, get rid of all that. You're your, what's the word? I guess your natural person, and you're that much closer to consciousness, to God, whatever you want to call it. And that way you can really hear. So those visions you had, they were just as real as we're sitting right here, but the person that's plugged into the system, they're going to tell you you're crazy.
Right.
And they're not going to listen to you with your advice either. I'll give you an example. My father is, if a doctor tells him, it's gospel.
Yeah.
And he will not take any other advice. And he's plugged into the TV, plugged in everything, and he thinks I'm as crazy as I don't know, a two-headed fruitcake. I don't know, but he doesn't believe any. So anyway, the point I'm trying to make is, you have to find that within yourself. I look at everything from a holistic approach.
Yeah.
For, like you said, the music, the food, your thoughts. That's, and you guys we're all the same people.
Yeah,
I don't know where I was going with that, but
I'm with you, and I guess what I'll say to sort of wrap it up is, I just want to highlight the importance of that devotion to your idea and the strength that you draw from wherever you draw from. Because when I might have told this story on the show before, when I first met Paul Murphy, and I asked him if I could study with him. He called me, or whatever. Either way, it went. The communication of me pursuing, trying to learn from somebody of this caliber, initially was the conversation was, you don't know what it's gonna take. You don't got it. You don't know what's gonna the devotion, the meditation. You don't know it. And you'd have these phone calls for 2-3 weeks straight. It just went just like that. And finally, one day I said, I've always wanted to do this, and I didn't know how to do it, and I'm going to do it either way, but it'd be real nice if you'd help me since you know what you're talking about. And then it was on, right. From there. It's always been on. And not that wasn't part of it being on, because it certainly is, and I think that's what we need to, I would just want to share that with anybody who's thinking that there's this way crazy turn that they're going to take and go towards something that brings them all those things that you're talking about. It's probably going to be hard. That's all. It's and to realize that just as much as the other things, it's not gonna go like this, and it's definitely not probably gonna go like that. It's probably gonna go like this and then
right
back here somewhere. So yeah, I just think it's cool to hear you speak about it in that way, and we've spoken about it before, but I do always. That's something I always try to share with people is, hey, you're probably gonna get your butt kicked. So
like if
hang
you
in there.
feel it, if you feel it, if you trust it, if you know it's your higher calling, your passion, like why not try it? Like if you try it and then you fall on your face, okay, get back up. Like do it again, try again. Instead of like regretting, oh, I shoulda, coulda, and then you didn't, but at least you did it. And then who cares what others say, like, but if you follow your heart and your passion, just go for it. You don't know what's on the other side, and you don't know until you jump and do it. So
Yeah. So go do it and find whatever it is that makes you okay with doing it when it gets hard and makes you feel connected that you're doing this thing and you're going to be able to share and have positive impact. Go for it. So, thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Thanks for you guys for we're all doing this. We're going to do it again at TechPort every Tuesday. So Progress Culture. You can find us progressculture.org and feel free to reach out, and we will see you next week. Thank Thank you all so much for being with us. We are grateful that you give us your consideration and attention. Please follow and reach out to the Spirit of Innovation and Freedom and TechPort on Facebook and YouTube, or at spiritinnovationfreedom.com and techportsomd.org, and also www.progressculture.org. Let us know what you're thinking and what you want to hear about and how you're feeling. We'd love to hear from you, and we'd love to see you again next week on Progress Culture. Thank you, much love, and see you soon.